Good morning, good morning, good morning. I love going live. I do. On this Sunday morning, we ain't doing nothing. Y'all ain't doing nothing. Y'all sleep or y'all just up and y'all just out, right? So I woke up this morning thinking, how does a party, how does a party just the winning strategy or let the winning animal out the cage and then they destroy everything within their path? Because Trump is a bull carrying around his own china shop. And the Republicans have allowed him to drag their party to the depths of destruction. I don't understand why the Republicans have allowed that. Now, how they've allowed it is this war resolution. The Republicans have rejected at least two, three, or four of these war power resolutions, right? And the war power resolution was created in 1973, and it was created to stop presidents from starting or escalating wars by themselves, right? And it's now the exact tool that the Republicans are refusing to use, which is helping them tie their own noose around their neck to Trump. Why it was so important in the first place? After the Vietnam War, which dragged on for years and years and years without a formal declaration of war, Congress was furious at executive overreach, the presidential overreach. Presidents from both parties had treated the commander in chief power like a blank check. So in 1973, Congress passed the War Powers Resolution over President Nixon's veto to reassert its constitutional role under the Article 1, Section 8. Only Congress can declare war. The president must notify Congress within 48 hours of sending troops into hostile territory or situation where hostiles are imminent. So the U.S. force must be withdrawn within 60 days or 90 days max, I guess, unless Congress explicitly authorizes the action via a declaration of war of a specific nature. So the goal is to force the collective judgment of Congress and the president on war decisions to make a decision. It was a direct reaction to Vietnam style, that whole thing in which we had to stay in Vietnam without having congressional buy-in. So that was the whole point of the War Powers Resolution. And each president since has complained that it's unconstitutional and tried to work around it, but it remains the main legal lever that Congress has to stop unilateral wars. So, how have the Republicans used it to tie a noose around their own goddamn necks? Republicans have repeatedly chosen loyalty to Trump over using or even allowing this congressional check. Why? And it's now backfiring on them in real time. If anybody's been looking at the polls, anybody has been looking at the surveys, anybody has been listening to, the right-wing side podcast, you'll know that this is an albatross around the Republicans' neck. So in Trump's first term, the Soleimani strike 2020, Trump ordered the drone strike killing of Iranian General Soleimani without prior congressional approval. And Democrats passed the War Powers Resolution to limit further Iran hostilities. Trump vetoed that, and most Republicans backed him or didn't override him when he did it. They argued the president needed flexibility. This is what the Republicans said in 2020. That set the precedent. When Trump wants to strike first and ask questions later, the Republicans won't stop him. So this is a pattern of the Republicans letting the president do what he wants to do without giving him a check and a balance. So in 2026, the pattern of 2020, what was 2025, when he was shooting the boats, kidnapping Maduro. Okay, yeah, 2025. So, but in 2026, the pattern is repeating itself. Now the Republicans control Congress and the House, and they're actively blocking the war power resolutions. So the same dynamic has played out on three major flashpoints. And each time the Republicans have refused to invoke or support the war powers resolution against the president. Kidnapping Maduro was the first one. So the U.S. forces launched Operation Resolve, raided Caracas, and captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Trump framed it as a law enforcement drug trafficking operation backed by military force. It was a straight up regime change style raid done without congressional authorization. And Democrats pushed for oversight on that. They were blowing up boats. They blowing up boats. How do you know all of those boats were illegal? You don't. And even if they were, being a drug dealer does not mean death. Does not mean death. So this is what we got from the Republicans. And remember, I always say, Republicans, they don't want to govern. They just want the power. They don't want to do anything for us underlings under here. They just want to rule power. They just want to have power. So he framed it as some kind of a drug enforcement, law enforcement operation without congressional authority. And so Democrats pushed to get this war resolution in place. No serious war powers push succeeded. Republicans largely stayed quiet, didn't say anything, didn't push back. And so Trump launched these bold and very controversial military actions. And the GOP was unwilling to restrain President Trump. And so then we had the Maduro, kidnapping Maduro. Then we had the boat blow-ups and the Strait of Hormuz escalation, right? As a part of the broader Iran conflict, the Iranian forces and proxies fired on tankers, commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz, a critical oil choke point, we know, right? And it's still closed to this day. People keep saying it's open, open, open. It ain't open because we gave Iran power over the Strait of Hormuz that they did not even have. That's crazy. You gave them power because they didn't do what they needed to do. U.S. Navy blockades and responses are there, trying to find with ships on fire, projectiles hitting vessels, and major disruptions to global shipping. These incidents directly fed into rising oil prices, gas prices, goods, services. Again, the war power framework could have forced the debate and limited on U.S. involvement in these naval hostilities, but Republicans blocked attempts to invoke it yet again, right? So, and then we had the full Iran war, Operation Epic Fury or something like that, ongoing since early 2026. This is the big one right now. U.S.-Israeli campaign against Iran. The whole point, we could have stopped it. Donald Trump went into the room with our people, our intelligence, Gabbard, Vance, Rubio, all of these people went in, and our intelligence people went into the room, and our intelligence people, and all of them told him Iran was not an imminent threat. They're not an imminent threat. We don't need to attack them. All of these people our people told President Trump that there was no need to go into Iran. And then President Trump went into a room with Netanyahu and the Mossad. And Pete Hegseth, Mr. I need to drink my ass off, Mr. Hegseth, went into a room with them. And they told him, oh, you're going to be the best president ever. You're going to have stars coming out of your ass, and people are going to love you for liberating them and all of this. And then President Trump fell for it and took us to war. And that tells me that the president took the word of Netanyahu and the Mossad over our intelligence agencies. Because you all remember when Tulsi Gabbard came out last year, she came out right before they struck Iran before. She came out and she said there was no imminent threat. And then Donald Trump told her, get your ass to the back of the bus. We don't want to hear what you got to say. Remember that? That was when our intelligence was telling Donald Trump that Iran was not an imminent threat. And he didn't listen. He went with the Mossad and Netanyahu. And every time for the past 10, 20 years, Netanyahu has been coming to the United States, president and saying, I need your help. I want you to attack Iran. I want you to neutralize Iran. And Obama said no. Biden said no. And he got a president that was going to say yes because he fed his ego. You can't tell me that's not what he did. Netanyahu fed this president's ego and got this president to declare war. Or, according it's not war. According to them, it's not war. It's just something, right? So this is how we ended up in this war with the ego of a president and the blatant grab for power that the Republicans always seem to do when they get near power. So Democrats have forced at least 4 Senate votes and multiple House attempts too, on the War Powers resolution to require Trump to end the U.S. involvement unless Congress authorizes it, and it's been blocked every time by Republicans. Each time Republicans have blocked. Senate is typically on a 47-52 scale. Senator Rand Paul is the only one that votes with the Democrats. And they've done this even as the 60-day clock under the War Powers Act has approached and passed. Why is this noose? Why is this the noose that they're tying around their own throat? Here's the reason why. By voting down these resolutions over and over again, Republicans are choosing to own the war instead of creating any daylight between them and the president. They're surrendering Congress's congressional check so Trump doesn't get mad at them or tweet about them or talk about them or hurt them or anything or run primaries against them. And the result of that is skyrocketing gas prices, because the disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz have pushed average gas prices over to $4. Economic pain hitting the voters in the wallet and leading political reports shifting key Democratic races, Senate races towards Democrat. We're not even talking about the House races. The House is already gone. That's already gone to the Democrats. It's already gone. Right now, they should be fighting for the Senate. And right now, the Senate looks more like the Democrats are going to take it as opposed to the Senate, as opposed to the Republicans keeping it. This war is a serious albatross. Okay? And on top of the fact that the key demographics that President Trump gathered in 2024 left him in droves, which were working class whites and Latino voters, including independents. So the president has lost all of those people, lost a lot of those people, the bulk of those people. This is exactly the castration of Republican power that they've done to themselves. They think short-term loyalty protects them from primary. They're going to lose badly. The Republicans are going to lose badly. Okay? They're going to lose badly. Okay? They hand them a win and failed Iran powers vote. They've been doing that ever since. Okay? They think that short-term loyalty protects them from the primaries. It's dragging that whole party down. It's dragging the whole party down. Okay? The whole party is getting dragged down by this. Okay? The whole party. And they're losing the Senate too. The Republican Party, the House is already gone. Okay? People feel it at the pump. That's the problem. People feel it at the pump. So, in short, the War Powers Resolution was designed to prevent exactly this kind of unchecked presidential power, war-making power. Republicans have and still have the tools to use it. They could use it. They could stop the president right now. The Republicans could stop the president right now if they wished to. If they wished to. Okay? They could stop the president right now. Okay? But they don't want to. They don't want to. By blocking it repeatedly, from the Maduro raid to the boat attacks in the Hormuz to the in the Hormuz Strait Iran war, they've involuntarily handed Trump the steering wheel and tied their own political futures to every tank of gas and every casualty that follows. I think a turning point with this administration, well, a couple turning points with this administration. You know, the death of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. Killing those 150 plus people in Iran, that school of girls. Many instances. So after everything that has folded, they cook their own prospects. The Block War Powers Resolution, the full-throttled embrace of unpopular and chaotic war in Iran, the gas prices skyrocketing to $4 to $5, maybe even more, and it may not even come down for a couple weeks. Reports or different political reports saying that the key races, Senate races, are pushing towards the Democrats, and they're hemorrhaging support, even from the very voters who helped bring this administration back into power, which is the Hispanic men and the independents and the working class whites. After all of this noise, all of those headlines and all of those broken promises, it doesn't boil down to some strategic, some kind of weird strategy. It doesn't. People try to explain away that there's something deeper going on. There's nothing deeper going on. There's no hidden brilliance about what's going on. It's like they playing some long game that the rest of us are not smart enough to see. But that's not it. It's not a master plan. It's not 4D chess or anything like that. It's not owning the libs or playing some long game that only the inner circle understands. No. We just witnessing right now something very simple, something very dark, and something very plain and transparent. It's raw fear and a naked grab for power. That's it. Naked fear of a single man, fear of his tweets, fear of his endorsement, fear of being primary, fear of being called disloyal, fear of losing the spotlight, the access, the power that comes with riding shotgun on the MAGA train. MAGA train is going to be the albatross. And when you really sit with that, when you really think about what that means for a governing party, it starts to explain everything you're saying right now. It means that you guys have chosen loyalty. You guys have chosen loyalty over your constituents. You've chosen loyalty over your constituents. Okay? And people got to sit with that. It's the governing powder. Governing party. I'm sorry. It starts with that right there. It explains everything that you're saying. Raw fear. It's the loyalty that they have for Donald Trump over their own people. It's that blind allegiance over actual results. It's protecting that one man's ego. Because every time you get into a room with this president, oh, Mr. President, you're the best. With your leadership, we're going to X, Y, and Z. We are the best. instead of saying, I want to help the country move forward, instead of saying, I want my constituents to have X, Y, and Z, instead of saying, I want to push my country forward in a better direction. These are real consequences because of reckless decisions that the Republicans have made. People always want to put the Democrats in it. Democrats don't have nothing to do with it. Democrats are trying to stop it. And they can't stop it if the Republicans continue to go down this blind path. Okay? The American people are feeling the real consequences of these reckless decisions, skyrocketing energy costs, fuel shortages, a hardline regime emerging in Iran. Instead of saying we're going to go along with America, Iran is saying, I ain't doing it. Iran ain't trying to do no kind of victory. They don't care. Everything is getting worse for the American taxpayer, not better. Because people are feeling this and not reading about it, not debating about it online. They're living this hellscape. They're living it. But see, when a political party like the Republican Party reaches this point, when its members would rather surrender their own constitutional authority in Congress, which is what the Republicans have done, they have surrendered their own constitutional authority in Congress to Donald Trump. They have castrated their own independence and tied their political futures to every single unpopular thing moving out of this White House, just so they don't risk making Donald Trump angry. That's not strength. That's not loyalty in any noble sense. That's cowardice wearing a suit. And here's the thing, people notice. Regular Americans feel it in their wallet. Every single time we fill up our gas tank, we feel it when we see the chaos and the body count from the war that was sold as quick and decisive, but is already dragging on with no clear end game. They feel it when they watch their elected representatives, the very people who are supposed to serve as a check and a balance to executive power, instead of choosing to kneel and hand over the keys. Voters aren't stupid. They see the Republican Party that talks endlessly about America first, but acts like it's Trump first, then consequences later. They see a party that would rather own the disaster than risk disappointing the man at the top. And eventually people are going to move on from the Republican. They move on from excuses. They move on from this cult-like devotion. They move on from the politicians who care more about staying in the good graces of Donald Trump than about delivering results for the country they swore an oath to serve. That's what this moment reveals about the Republican Party. It's no genius, no courage, no vision, no fear, just fear over Donald Trump, fear over leadership, not loyalty, not the loyalty they're supposed to have to the American people. This is power over people. And I said a long time ago, the Republicans don't want to govern a group of diverse people like us. They want to just govern who they want to govern, and they really don't want to govern. They just want power. Okay? They just want power. And it's craven power too. Nobody, even when I was having my shows during the afternoon, nobody could explain to me what the Republican Party has done for them in this legislative session. What has the Republican Party done for the everyday average American? They keep bringing out the tax on tips, tax on tip, tax on tip. That means nothing to the average American when the gas prices are $4. That means nothing. What has the Republican Party done for the American people? And they should be doing a lot. The Republican Party could do so much, but they don't want to. They don't want to. We need health care in this country. We need free lunches for students. We need free college for people. We need a check and balance on the Supreme Court. We need a check and balance on the presidential power. We need so many things, and the Republican Party that's in power now is not willing to do it because they only want power. They don't want to rule. They don't want to be. They don't want to govern this United States. They don't ever want to govern. It's always about power. And whenever they get into power, whenever they get into reigning over the country is in a worse position. The country is in a worse position when Donald Trump when Donald Trump came into it. And we knew that people who voted against Trump knew he would bring us to our knees in this way. He would bring us to our knees in this way. Okay. This didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen overnight. This wasn't one decision. This was a pattern that the Republicans decided that they were going to do. A series of choices, one after the other, that slowly boxed them in until there was nowhere left to go. There's nowhere left to go. The House seats are gone. That's gone to the Democrats. Now the Democrats are fighting to get the Senate. And all of these people who brought our country to the brink of destruction, to the brink of where it's at, need to be held accountable. Because if you really want to understand why the Republicans are losing ground with the American people, you have to walk through the choices one by one that they made. First, they gave up their own power. And I don't mean that in some abstract way. I mean, the Republicans literally in real time in front of the country gave up their power to Donald Trump. They had a chance to stand up to him, to check the president, to say enough on a war that's dragging the country into chaos. But they didn't. They backed off. No vote, no resistance, nothing. And that moment mattered more than people realized, because that was the moment that the Republicans could have created distance between themselves and the president. That's the moment that they could have said, this is not ours. This is not our war, but they didn't. So now they don't get to separate themselves from the war. This is the Republican war. And I told you, Republican presidents do three things. They crash the economy, they give tax cuts, and they start wars. Those are the three things you can count a Republican to do. Okay? This war, this was the fallout, this was the consequence. They own it too, and they know that they own it. Second, this isn't about the headlines. This is about your life. Gas prices are climbing. Costs are climbing. Insurance is jumping from something manageable to something people can't even recognize. And here's the part the Republican can't spend. You can debate policy all day long. You can argue talking points all day long, but you cannot argue with the people and how they feel when they swipe their card, and it hurts more and more every day. The gas pricing, food pricing. That message that costs are coming down only works if people actually feel relief. And right now, nobody don't feel no relief. And when people don't feel it, they don't stay loyal to you. They walk away. And this administration and the Republican saying, oh, gas prices coming down, food is coming down, people coming down, ain't shit coming down. They lying. They lying to you. Because they know they fucked up. They know they fucked up. Okay? So they know that they fucked up. So third, there's a moral line that people are watching, whether politicians admit it or not. War with no clear win. Decisions that feel reckless. A sense of power that is expanding without accountability. This president is reckless with no accountability. Nobody is checking the president. Nobody is saying to the president, wait a minute, hold on, let me check that. Let me find out if that's true or not. And you don't have to be deeply political to feel when something ain't right. And right now, for a lot of Americans, something ain't right. And once that feeling sets in, once trust starts to break, it's very hard to repair. And this president has broken that trust with the American people. Okay, only you goofy zombies believe this president hasn't broken the promises that he has made to the American people. Only you deeply loyal people that are those people. But the rest of us have woken up. Okay, the rest of us have woken up. Fourth, the Republicans, they're playing a short-term game, and it's going to cost them long-term. Okay, they're scared. They're scared of the president, scared of Trump, scared of getting called out, scared of primaries. So instead of the Republicans leading, they follow. They follow this president off a cliff, and then they drag us right along with him. But the reality is they don't want to face this, and they don't want to face the fact that they're going to lose their party. They don't want to face the fact that there's going to be backlash in them. But eventually, they still have to stand in front of the American people and say, we didn't do what we were supposed to do. And you can't rewrite history. You can't pretend you pushed back when you didn't. We all know that y'all let this president do what he wanted to do. You can't pretend that you stood up when you stayed quiet, when you allowed this president to do anything without any kind of check or balance. Okay? You stayed quiet. You Republicans stay quiet. What y'all Republicans do is crash the economy, start wars, and give tax cuts. That's what y'all do. You don't want to govern. Fifth, they miscalculated Trump himself. They're still operating like it's 2016, like he carries everything, like his presence guarantees loyalty forever. But the signs are there. Trump has lost Hispanic men. Trump has lost the independents. Trump has lost some of the working class whites. Trump has lost the progressives. He's lost the blacks. He's lost some of the females. No, it's going to be a bloodbath come November 2026. Okay, they're operating like this is 2016. Districts are shifting. Races are tightening. Support has softened all across the board. It's gone. Okay. That grip the president used to have on people is gone. President only has a grip on the old goofies that are zombies. But these Republicans today are still betting everything on this president, that this president can drag them over the hole. And they can't. He can't. We can tell that he can't because they're bleeding supporters all over the country. Like I said, when Lindsey Graham is in trouble with his Senate seat, they're in trouble. Republicans are in trouble because now people can see. We told you not to vote this president in because he was going to take us down a rabbit hole to destruction of our country, and you all did it anyway. So now you guys got to get us out of this hole. Now you got to get us out of. We not taking you back over here. We're not taking you back over here. And I get it. Somebody told me the other day, you Democrats like to talk about gay people. You Democrats like to talk about trans people. You mean to tell me y'all took us down this rabbit hole with this destructive man because we accept trans people for who they are? Because we want to burn trans people by the stake. Y'all took us down this crazy route. Y'all took us over here for the president because we don't throw gays into the fire and watch them burn. Y'all took us down this route. Y'all didn't want to vote for the Democrat. The Democrats don't represent me. They like gays and trans. You mean to tell me because you don't like gays and trans, y'all took us down this route? Y'all took us down this route when we told you this president was going to drag us down to hell with him, to a place that our country has never seen. Our country may never recover from. Y'all took us down there because y'all was upset about gays and trans. So when we step back, we got to recover from all of this. We got to figure out, become very clear. This one issue. This isn't one bad moment. This is a pattern of decisions that the Republicans have made, driven by one thing, fear of this president. And when fear drives decision making instead of leadership, when loyalty replaces results, when power matters more than people, and power matters more to the Republicans than anything else because they don't want to govern. Okay. The outcome is predictable. People notice, people feel it, and eventually people are going to move on. We are in a quagmire now. We are in a tipping point. The only people that can stop this president is the Democrats. Right now, the only people that can stop the president is the Republicans, but they don't want to. They have tied their hat to this sinking ship. And by proxy, they have tied us to the sinking ship too. So now we're going down the tubes too. Who knows how we're going to recover? It's going to take it's going to take years to get us back to where. Don't y'all miss where we were in 2016? Don't y'all miss where we were in 2016? Where jobs were booming. Housing prices were 3% or 2%. Don't people miss that? We can never get back there because something dark and dusty and dank came out of this Trump presidency and stained all of us, stained us all. And I don't know how we get back to where we were because of the hurt that this country and this president and the people who voted for him put on the rest of us. And I'll say it and I'll say it again. It was a moral choice. That is fundamentally why this country is separated. People who voted for Donald Trump and the Republicans made a moral choice to be on that side of the aisle, and you hurt the rest of the country when you did it. You didn't know you were going to hurt the country as much as you did, but you hurt the country exponentially. And now the Republicans have an albatross around their neck. And by proxy, we're hanging on to the coattails of the Republican Party. And they don't want to turn around and save us. And this is where we are. This is where we are. So, we rather see us no one president. Yeah, we get it. I get it. Somebody wrote in this. I get it. Which one? He is a. I get it. They say no gays and illegals. I get it. Y'all don't want gays and illegals in the country, so you drag us down this hole. You drag us this way. You drag us in this direction. I get it. I get it. Now you see the consequences of your actions. Now you see the consequences of it. We're in a war. We're losing rights, losing money. How about all those people that got fired from the government? Is our government working very well when we're having storms and we're not having people that get warned about the storms and people are dying because of the storm, cancer treatments that have been canceled, all of these things? How are you making America great again? How's that working out? It's not. So stop it. I appreciate you guys showing up. Please put in the comment section what you like about the story. Give me some feedback on it. I appreciate it. This Sunday morning, I just had to come on here and rant and rave about the Republican Party. And I will see you guys in the next one. I appreciate you. I appreciate you showing up. I do. I appreciate you.